In terms of pronunciation, a really good way to improve, in fact the best way, is by listening and imitating. So today we're going to show you how imitating a native speaker really will help you in your fluency and pronunciation. And a little benefit is that it will also improve your listening slightly too. So we're going to show you a series of listening and imitation drills that you can use at any time with any speaker to help you improve your pronunciation by yourself, which is key. Self-helps are very important. So we need to emphasize the importance of listening for pronunciation. If you can't hear a sound, a syllable or a stressed word, of course you can never make that sound. You're going to struggle to pronounce a word you cannot hear. So it's very important that you listen carefully and you listen specifically to sounds, trying to isolate sounds and understand what the speaker is saying in terms of the sounds they are making. We're listening specifically to hear and imitate. We are not listening for the meaning. So that's not as important as how the sound is made. So we'll briefly go over the process now. So once I've finished this will seem complicated, but once it's finished we're going to look at this in more detail. So for a start you need to choose a speaker. We'll look at all of these steps in more detail soon. Then we need to listen and write what we think or what you think the speaker is saying. Then you should compare it to a transcript and check your errors. Then we're going to look at the chunks, the language chunks. By chunk we mean the words that are together between pauses, natural pauses in speech. Then we're going to listen within those chunks for specific things. So we're listening first of all. The most important thing is the stressed words and the stressed syllables that native English speakers make. Then we move on to some of the weaker sounds. It's also important to understand sounds that are not so strong. And then that connects with connected sounds. Sometimes those weak sounds connect with another sound. Then we need to move from listening to practicing. So we're going to try and imitate exactly the chunk of language that the speaker uses. Then we'll imitate the whole passage. Then a good thing is to record yourself and compare it to the original. Notice any differences, and then imitate it again, and you can continue the process if you think it's not so good. So now let's go through those things. So first of all, we're going to do this listen thing. So you need to choose who the speaker is. So ideally choose someone of the same gender as you. If you're a man, listen to a man, or a female, listen to a female. You don't have to do that. That's not essential. Try and choose someone also that may be similar to you in how they talk, or someone that you would like to sound like even. Listen carefully to what they say and write that down as close as you can. So now what I'd like you to do is we're going to pause here, and it will give you a chance to listen to the sample and you can write it down yourself.
What I really like most about my village is the people. They're so friendly. Everyone knows everyone else, and that makes you feel very safe and comfortable.
So this is what an example of what a candidate might write. Hopefully you wrote something similar to that. Now we need to read that transcript and check. We need to read what we heard and compare it to the real transcript. We're looking for errors. Now those listening errors that we make are most often also pronunciation errors. So we need to listen and imitate the errors and see if we can get them imitate the correct form, actually, not the errors, and we want to see if we can notice the difference. This certainly will help you with your self-correction. So remember, this one here is what the person wrote, the sample here, and maybe you wrote something similar to that. And then have a look at this tape script. So just as I pause here again for a sec, can you see any differences there? There's a few. Now we're going to look at the error analysis of what that candidate has written, and we'll see what it shows. So again, that's what they showed, or they wrote, that's what they heard. And here we see some things that they're missing. So we see the is here. They're missing little words, aren't they? That's a key one. My village is. They are so friendly, and that's because of the connected speech, which we'll come to soon. Everyone knows and makes, so they've got subject-verb agreement. This is an example of how pronunciation may also affect your grammar mark. And missing the conjunction at the end there, the and. Now, we need to notice some natural chunks. When we're speaking in English, there's natural chunking, and chunking means the words that come together between pauses. So we need to think and consider very carefully now, when does the speaker pause? So we can note, if it's a long pause, maybe we put down 2 arrows like that. If it's a shorter pause, 1. If it's a very long pause, you may even put 3. This is going to help you sound more natural. So we notice the person doing it there. You can see how they are putting the lines down and pausing. So that's important to notice. And now we have our chunks identified. So the first chunk is what I really like most, and then about my village. So we see the individual chunks between the lines there. So the next thing we want to do is note some stress sounds at the word level, which means which words are stressed in the sentence, and also maybe at the syllable level, what syllables are stronger, especially within a stressed word. And of course we need to imitate. And this is going to help you emphasize words in your speaking. So we see here that the person's underlines the words that they thought were stronger. So we'll listen again and you can hear those sounds coming out.
What I really like most about my village is the people. They're so friendly. Everyone knows everyone else, and that makes you feel very safe and comfortable.
Now we also need to think about weaker sounds. Many words in English are very weak and they actually change their sound, but we still need to note these sounds, and that will help you with this connected idea, where some of those weak words connect to a stronger word that preceded them. And of course we need to imitate. And this is going to help you with your rhythm along with the stressed words. So we're combining two things, the stressed words and the weaker sounds. So here we'll show you what it will look like here. So we see the smaller words here are the weaker sounds. So the example of the is they are, everyone else, in, and notice that the and is actually changing pronunciation from and to n there. So now we see a combination of things happening there with stressed words and weaker words. So now we need to listen and practice, and now we're going to really try and practice this. We need to imitate exactly. We want to stress the long sounds and the short sounds. Now when we're stressing the long sounds, it doesn't need to be louder, but it certainly needs to be longer. This again will help with the rhythm. So have a practice with this one. What I really like most. They are so friendly. And now we need to listen and imitate within the entire passage. So we're doing the same thing now, just at a bigger level. So we're going to be listening to the pauses as well, and we want to ourselves have these nice pauses between chunks of language. Record yourself if you can, then you can come back and compare your speaking to the original, correct any mistakes that you're making, focus on that again, and then record once more and compare once more.
What I really like most about my village is the people. They're so friendly. Everyone knows everyone else, and that makes you feel very safe and comfortable.
So again, you can do that yourself there. And by doing this, it will really, really help. You can choose any recording you like and do this. I would suggest you keep nice and short recordings like this one here. It makes it easier. So let's have a review of what we've focused on. We need to listen and write. We need to check our mistakes compared to the tape script. We need then to listen more carefully and note the pauses and the chunks of language. We need to listen and note stressed words and stressed sounds, but also weak sounds and connected sounds. Yeah, imitate the chunks and the entire passage. And you just do that as often as you like with any recording, and it will certainly improve your speaking pronunciation.